Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum and a very good evening. I am Professor Dr. Masood Hameed Khan and I welcome you all to today's special episode in Dr. Masood Khan Studios. As you know that we are creating digital archive of personalities who have contributed significantly toward the healthcare system at home or abroad. Today, it gives me great pleasure to introduce a truly distinguished Dow Medical College graduate, Dr. Shehnaz Somjee, a physician, surgeon, legal scholar, and media personality whose career beautifully bridges science, communication, and social service. Dr. Shehnaz Somjee completed her early education at St. Lawrence Girls' School and College, where she won numerous awards in debates, quizzes, science fairs, and even composed and performed a school play, a sign of her early creativity and leadership. She went on to earn her MBBS from Dow Medical College, and I was lucky to be her class fellow. She graduated with distinction and receiving the gold medal. Her professional journey took her to the United Kingdom, where she trained and practiced as an ENT surgeon. Beyond medicine, Dr. Somji's dedication to public health education, shown through her popular television program, Common Maladies and Their Remedies on Pakistan television. Her intellectual curiosity didn't stop there. She pursued an LLB honors and earned recognition as a barrister, combining her medical expertise with legal knowledge to advocate for patient right and medical ethics. Today, we have the privilege of revisiting her extraordinary journey from Karachi to Liverpool, from the operating theatre to the television studio, and from medical science to the world of law and justice. Welcome, Dr. Shehnaz Somjee. It's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I think आपने मेरी ज़रूरत से ज़्यादा तारीफ कर दी है. I don't deserve so much, but thank you so much for doing me the honor of inviting me here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now we'll start a few questions from your early life and Dow Medical College. As I have mentioned that you were among the top students of St. Lawrence Girls' School and College. How did those formative years shape your personality and confidence?
It's very interesting because this is something I've thought about a lot lately. There's a saying, dark clouds have a silver lining, and my personality changed due to a dark cloud. I was the youngest child, the only daughter. My brothers were 10 and 12 years older than me. And I was only 6 when the eldest went abroad to study. So I was the only child at home, getting all the attention of my parents and a bit spoiled. So I was very shy, tongue tied. There was no one to play with. So I didn't know how to talk and how to make conversation, how to argue, fight, stand my corner. I didn't know any of those things. I was really shy. When visitors would come and my parents would ask me to talk to them, I would hide behind the curtain and I would refuse to come. I was that bad. I couldn't face a crowd. I used to sing, but when people used to ask me to sing, I would refuse because I was too scared to stand up and sing. This is how bad I was. When I was in class 5, a girl in my class started bullying me. She had become class captain and she had a gang with her, and she picked me out. The reason really was because my father used to give me a lot of attention. He used to come to pick me up, drop me. And this girl came from a family where girls were not wanted. She was an unfortunate, unwanted daughter. So we never saw her parents ever. The father had no time for her. So she was jealous. So she started picking on me every day. And I did not know how to answer back. And she would seize any opportunity to say nasty things and pick on me. And this went on until in class 8th, necessity is the mother of invention. My tongue suddenly became loose and I started learning to argue back, fight back because of her. And by class 9th, I had become her match. And the whole class was divided into two camps, my camp and hers, at war with each other, equal. And the teachers and principal tried hard to patch us out, but it was a very deep-seated enmity between her and me, so it was going to stay. But she was also not fair. When she was the class captain, she abused her position. Uh, when she would mind the class, her friends would talk, they would throw things at other girls, and she would do nothing. And when the other girls retaliated, she would report them to the teachers for talking. So she was unfair, unjust, and abusing her position. And I realized that from that early age, I had a strong sense of fighting for right and justice. I could not stand wrongdoing, injustice. I was in favor of rights. And that was my principal reason for opposing her. Anyway, in the college, I was able to get my own back, and an incident happened there. Uh, in class 11th, I stood for the Students' Union as treasurer. She put one of her gangsters against me, but I won. There was no problem. Now, in the science section, when we went to class 11th, St. Lawrence's had a big demand for science seats. So they doubled the seats and made two sections, A and B. And they kept the two camps in two separate sections so they wouldn't fight.
Okay.
And each section had two CRs, class reps. My section's reps were my friends. She and one of her friends were the reps of their class. And they didn't cooperate with me as union officer. I was in charge of organizing parties, events. Our classes were on the second floor, and if there was something going on downstairs, each girl was asked to take her chair down and bring it back 2 floors. My girls did it, but she and her friend would not tell their girls to do it. So my friends were having to do their share of the work, which made me unhappy. And they were uncooperative. They did nothing. And the friend was sports secretary and did nothing. The sports teacher was displeased with her. Now, in class 12th, we lost quite a lot of girls. So we became one section again, 60 students. The new 11s were in two sections. Now, she had always had the ambition to stand for vice president, VP. In class 9th, I noticed that she was watching the VP Sandra Nelson taking the assembly with a watering mouth, and I could tell she wanted to be VP someday. And she stood for it, and that friend of hers stood as general secretary. And opposite them were two humanities girls for secretary. The famous model Marilyn Pereira stood. And for the first time, we had hustings, and she was a debater. She was very articulate. So she was full of rhetoric, showing off about all the things she would do. And her opponent felt rather demoralized. And I stood there watching her, and I said to my friends, if only they knew what she's like. And I prayed to God, oh God, you are a witness to everything that's happened. You know how she is and how she has treated me. Help me to defeat her. And suddenly, God granted my wish. I found myself asking her questions, and the questions became a Perry Mason style cross examination. For the first time, something like that happened to me. And I exposed all her faults, the way they did nothing when they were CRs and all. And when the new 11s heard that, that was it. She lost the elections, and I got my own back finally. But that day, I changed. Firstly, I developed a new confidence I never had. And I realized that there's nothing you can't do if you want to. Single handedly, I defeated them from outside. So if you want to do a thing, you can do it. And there's nothing that's impossible. And the word defeat disappeared from my dictionary. For me, it was only there for my opponents. And when I went home and told my parents what had happened, my father was a lawyer. He said, oh, you've inherited my legal skills. You should do law as well. I said, I'm doing medicine. I'm not going to be a lawyer. So after you become a doctor, join the evening classes at SM Science College and you'll pass, he was saying. At that time, I had no intention of doing law, even though he said
Okay.
this. Yeah, but
So,
the seeds were being
so
sown.
that's very interesting that those early days they changed you a lot, and in fact, the behavior of that girl, in fact, helped you in shaping your future career and the boldness and the qualities which you got. Now you won prizes in debates, quizzes, and even composed a school play song. How did those creative experiences influence your journey into medicine?
I started writing poetry at the age of 9 in class 4. And in class 5, I started writing prose. Now, before I was even born, my father used to say, if I have a daughter, I'll make her a doctor.
Okay.
So when I was a child, he always said, I'm making her a doctor. I'm going to send her to Dow Medical. Then I'll send her to England to do FRCS. He actually was going to get his entire wish.
Okay.
But later, when my parents realized that I had a flair for writing, they said, look, you don't have to be a doctor if you don't want to. You can be a writer or anything else you want. But I decided that for a profession, I didn't want to write. Uh, I write only when I'm inspired. And if you
Okay.
write for a living, you have to write whether you like it or not, and the quality is uninspired.
Exactly.
So I decided that would be like a secondary profession, something I would do as a part-time thing, and medicine would be my main role. And I liked medicine. And I always dreamed of being an inventor. I wanted to invent something as a scientist, so much so that the girls in my class started nicknaming me mad scientist.
Oh,
Yeah. And then at the age of 12, I started writing philosophic poems, and the girls in my class did not receive that very well. They thought something was wrong with me. I was crazy to be writing all these things. So in class ninth, I was about to stop writing poetry. I felt as if I was abnormal, inadequate, something was wrong with me, and this had to stop. But then something happened. In class ninth, we had four houses: unity, faith, discipline, and service. And each house had to produce a play on its motto. I wrote a play for it. I wrote a poem on the motto, and in the play, I composed a song. Now, a new teacher had joined us, and I'll never forget her. Her name is Miss Nimat Dayani. She was our English teacher and the house mistress. And she liked what I'd done, and she kept saying, "Oh, you're a very creative girl. You're very creative." And she encouraged me, and suddenly the dying creations were resurrected and they became all
yes.
right again. And I started developing them. And when I went to the medical college, actually, I had more opportunities than in St. Lawrence's.
Exactly.
Dow may be medical, but it gives you enormous amount of extracurricular opportunities. I went for English debates and won prizes. I went in St. Lawrence's too, but I went for more of them and won more prizes in Dow. And also in St. Lawrence's, the teachers controlled our speeches. In Dow, there was free speech. You said what you
Exactly.
liked, and that works in debates. So I did that. And then from Dow, I went to Radio Pakistan and got the first prize in classical solo.
Oh,
And that made a big difference because that was an entry into Radio Pakistan. And then they started calling me for other things. Poetry also developed from Dow. Two NED students found that for English poetry writers, there was no platform in Pakistan. So they went to the American Center for it. The American Center asked them to get a group together and they would do it. So they came to Dow and asked for poets.
okay.
And myself, Walter Silvera, and Shehnaz Somjee from our class, we were poets. We went and we performed there. And that's how then poetry came in. And then I asked the Radio Pakistan producers to have English programs, English poetry. And it's interesting. At that time, they did it, but I never realized it until recently. The professor had, sorry, the producer had a friend. And he met me a couple of years ago and he told me that you were the pioneer of English programs in Basmet Alba. You were the one who
Okay.
started it, my friend told me. And I didn't realize that I was a pioneer. He told me this. And that also led to common maladies and their remedies because I was now in and out of Radio Pakistan. I would finish college at 1:30, stop in Radio Pakistan on the way, do programs, and go home between 3 and 4, and then study at home. And I found myself writing a lot of poems on medicine, patients,
Okay.
medical poems, quite a lot of those. So that was something which happened. And then, of course, I became editor of Dowlight. So there was a lot of journalism there. Everything thrived in Dow. I really credit all my creative opportunities more to Dow, second to St. Lawrence's.
Exactly. We do realize at Dow it was a very, very refined institute to build you up, so many faculties, and certainly we all enjoyed our stay at Dow. Now, please tell me that any mentor or classmate you particularly remember from Dow.
I never actually had a mentor ever. But whenever I needed guidance, I went to different professors, and every single one of them was very helpful and provided guidance. Every single one without exception. So I commend them for it. I think we had the best teachers. They taught us so well, and they had such excellent clinical methods like Professor Fazal Ilai and Professor Malik Ali Sheikh. Mathematical clinical methods. Those methods even helped me for FRCS.
Exactly.
Now, class fellows, lots of lovely memories, lots of friends. I don't know whose names to take and who's not
Okay.
to. I think I'll just name a few and apologize to the ones who are missed out. Professor Tasneem Ehsan was a good friend, and she has been kindly mentioning me in her memoirs.
Oh,
And she's an eminent endocrinologist, and she was the head of the Faculty of Medicine for the whole of Karachi. Then Dr. Azra Ehsan, her sister, who's
our
an
sister.
eminent gynecologist. Yeah, they were very good friends. They still are, and I keep in touch with them. And I go to Pakistan, I meet all of them, and everybody much love. Barrows was another best friend. Barrows Mehta is now Dr. Barrows Miss, and she was the administrator of Seventh Day Adventist Hospital. She's a very good friend. She and I exchange a lot of medical matters. And there was my friend Teen Tabassum, Tehseen Parvez, a very good friend of mine, and I used to stay with her when I used to come to Karachi. I also stayed with our class fellows Shahina Shahab and Shahad
Oh,
Tasroor,
yes.
and Memuna Riaz, now Memuna
Yes.
Nusrat, back to Nusrat Khuda from my class.
Exactly.
Yeah, they are very good when I come to Karachi. They are very helpful. And when I go, people hold a reunion for me, our class. So there's a lot of love to share and lots of people. I don't know who to name, whom not to.
Oh,
There are so many.
in fact, all the class fellows, they are on this group on WhatsApp of Dawad 78 and is a very close group and very good one.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm
Now,
also in touch with some from America. Naz and Fawzia
okay.
Majid are in touch from there. There are quite a few people who are in touch. There aren't very many in UK. Dr. Mohammad Arif has been in touch from our class.
Okay.
Uh, Nobody else really.